Guys, what's going on? Back again with another Arbitrum ecosystem update. As usual, nothing in this video is financial advice, and everything I say is my opinion and my opinion alone. Starting off today with a tweet here by Zagabond. He says, just a small human being, Arbitrum. For those of you who don't know, some good old context. The other day, Azuki, essentially, or I should say, in partnership with Azuki, Anime Coin launched Anime Chain. And essentially, this is like, I think might have been one of the biggest chain announcements like ever, possibly. Like, if you look at the actual announcement tweet, I think it literally got over 1 million impressions and about 23,000 likes. So some insane number. And in this case, Zagabond, of course, is a human being over at Azuki, a contributor directly over there, as well as at Offchain Labs, the team that created Azuki. And there's actually been a good amount of bonding between the Azuki folks as well as the Treasure folks. For those of you who don't know, a tradition, I should say, with the Smol community is to pretty much welcome any team that's bridging over to Arbitrum with their very own small brains. So I think most likely it was Mike Preeminent, or Smol Preeminent, technically. I think he went around and essentially created Smols for all the different Azuki members who are now obviously part of the Arbitrum family, since they're, of course, they're going to be on an Arbitrum-based chain. And it's pretty cool. I think it's cool, man. I think there's there's definitely some sort of bond that you have, obviously, when you're kind of sharing the same technology. I think probably in crypto, that really only exists in crypto, right? At the end of the day, like no one's bonding over sharing AWS, right, as the back end of whatever they're building. So it's pretty cool to see that happen. Of course, with the Arbitrum community, Smalls really do a great job, actually, like kind of assimilating everyone, especially people that are just announced. So definitely really cool to see some of the Azuki folks that kind of just I mean, not necessarily rocking the PFP. Obviously, still has the Azuki as the PFP. Got to have the Azuki as the PFP. I get it. But just post up a picture and giving some appreciation for all that work. And it's funny because this kind of leads me into the next one, which is a tweet here by Andrew Huang. I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. From Conduit, the founder of Conduit, actually. And essentially, he essentially said 24-hour update, 400,000 blocks, 2 million transactions, and 40 TPS. And this is in response to the DGen chain that launched, I want to say yesterday. Essentially, the Arbitrum Orbit chain built on top of Base, with, of course, built around the DGen ecosystem, which is kind of like a pretty big meme token at this point. And I bring that up in relation to Azuki chain and kind of a lot of bonding going there, as the exact opposite, right? I mean, you have another team here who's actually using the Arbitrum tech stack, Arbitrum Orbit, building it somewhere else, and not really feeling the need to assimilate, connect with the Arbitrum community or anything like that. And I think that's pretty dope too, to be honest with you. I'm a big fan of being able to essentially, use the best technology you can to build whatever you need to build, and not necessarily need to kind of bend the knee to any quote unquote bend the knee to any existing community, or feel like you have to kind of participate in whatever is going on with the said community just because you're using the tech. You should be able to do whatever you want with it at the end of the day. You probably have seen that. If you see my tweets, then you probably know I already have this opinion. But I think it's cool. I think it's cool that there are other people and other ecosystems that are using the Arbitrum tech stack to their benefit. Because at the end of the day, the Arbitrum DAO does directly benefit from that through fee revenue. And of course, just through kind of marketing. It's like, when someone sees a chain like DGen chain doing amazingly as this, 40 TPS is no joke. I mean, probably the first thing you're going to ask is what tech stack are they using? And obviously, that's when the Arbitrum comes into play. So kind of wanted to, bring those two, I don't know, I guess, dichotomies. Economies, I definitely did not use the right word there. Those two different ways of approaching kind of building on a tech stack and embracing or not embracing a community. I think it's an interesting conversation to have, and I'm open to hear what you guys think, or what you guys have to say about that. But next, I actually wanted to give a shout out to the folks at Tally for their own ecosystem update. And it's pretty dope, dude. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's pretty dope to see kind of pretty much I mean, I think he said, what I will say is I think we should all be doing this now. I think we should do this. I think every ecosystem, especially that is big in nature and hard to keep track of, governance is obviously one of the biggest, should definitely have this, right? To me, the best way to spread knowledge and information is through video content. Video and even audio, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you can listen to this stuff without looking at it, or you can just play it on your iPod and just turn off the screen. But this is the best way to do it. No one wants to read anymore. At least I don't want to read. I want to do like I want to create content that I would watch myself, and for the most part, I would watch these videos. Sometimes, just depends on how I'm feeling. But shout outs to the Tally folks. I'd love to see this happen. And yes, I hope more ecosystems do this. Maybe not. I mean, maybe I only hope the Arbitrum-based ecosystems do this. Tally's not Arbitrum ecosystem based, but they're very aligned. So, shout outs to the Tally folks over there. Looking forward to seeing more updates from you guys. I'm gonna go over real quick. By the way, this isn't technically a tweet, but I realize I haven't spoken about DAO stuff too much recently, or haven't really given any updates on what's going on there. So I just want to give a very, very high level overview of what's passed, what's currently being voted on, and all that other stuff. I think from here, I'm only going to talk about the double down on STIP successes, essentially the STIP bridge. This recently passed. It ended 39 minutes ago. Wow. And it ended in a 4 vote. And this one's actually this is a pretty divisive one. You have 62% of people who voted for it, 32% who essentially didn't. And TLDR of this is essentially, and I apologize if I am actually getting this wrong because I haven't read the full thing, but a TLDR is, so STIP, for those of you who don't know, was pretty much the first major Arbitrum proposal that went through relating to incentives and actually distributing ARB for the purpose of, incentivizing people to use protocols on Arbitrum. And essentially, what this proposal is doing is essentially asking the DAO to say, hey, the STIP performed well, I guess in our eyes or according to X metrics, and we want to essentially rerun it with the same projects. Because if you don't know already, there is actually another iteration of STIP called the Long-Term Incentive Pilot Program or proposal that is actually currently, it's not like the incentives aren't live yet, but the applicants are essentially being chosen for that right now. So I think that's why you have such a divisive kind of back and forth here in the voting, because technically STIP in the name is supposed to be short term, and kind of doubling down on short term seems a little bit like counterintuitive. At least that's what I would assume that these guys who are voting against would think. Again, I haven't read it fully myself, to be honest with you, but this is definitely going to be an interesting one, and we'll see, because I think at this point it's probably going to go to Tally. Maybe they'll implement some changes that maybe the people who voted against, for the reason they voted against for. But we'll see. It seems like right now the ecosystem's kind of in full bull mode, and everyone's kind of just ready to start incentivizing everything. So let's see what happens. Then we have the Tally, the on-chain vote. And by the way, just for very high level overview real quick, usually the flow for a proposal, especially with the Arbitrum DAO, is the forum where discussions happen, snapshot, which is essentially the off-chain vote, like a temperature check to see what people are feeling, which is just what we looked at, and then tally essentially represents the on-chain vote. So everything happening on Tally is completely on-chain. This is the last step of the vote, obviously. So if it passes, it goes through, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. We have actually a good amount of things happening on Tally right now. So let me go to this one first. So first one, we have the proposals to fund Plurality Labs Milestone 1 Bridge. So real quick, let's see if we can go a quick overview of this one. Back in August, Arbitrum DAO passed our AIP3 to build a pluralistic grants framework that decentralizes grants decision-making, avoids captures, and scales valuable grants allocations, and grows the Arbitrum ecosystem overall. Nearly every DAO struggles to create sustainable value, largely because DAO decision-making is famously slow and inefficient. I'm going to go ahead and skip all of that, but essentially what these guys are doing is creating different types of grant programs that can run through the DAO instead of the Arbitrum Foundation. And these guys did a great job, as they mentioned here earlier. They actually seeded 12 different grants programs, and a good amount of projects were actually able to take part of it. And it looks like this time they're essentially rerunning it back. But I didn't see which ones, how much they were asking for. So it looks like the total cost and time frame are the same as the first one, 3.36 million ARB in 6 months, which is definitely great. If you ask me, I think we definitely need more different grants programs instead of just having the foundation do it all. Frankly, when people ask me, I usually refer them to the DAO-based programs first, because those tend to actually kind of run through quicker, to be honest with you. So that's a really good one. That one's actually pending execution, so that one did pass. You have the second one over here, the Arbitrum Stable Treasury Endowment Program. Essentially, this one actually thank God, TLDR right over here. Thank you guys. Essentially aims to support the budding RWA ecosystem on Arbitrum by diversifying 35 million ARB from our treasury into assets that are stable in value with minimal volatility, liquid in conversion, and provide yield uncorrelated to crypto markets that is at least commensurate with the so-called risk-free rate of return of U.S. treasuries, hereby called stable RWAs. So this is definitely being voted on right now. So you can actually, if you have ARB, you can vote for this. Vote for it, vote against it, or even abstain. That's I think. Let me see. When does that one end? That one ends in 7 days as well. So definitely make sure to take a look at that one if you want to vote. We have the empowering early contributors. This is essentially, again, TLDR, very high level. It's essentially a group of Arbitrum community members who pretty much contributed to Arbitrum early on. In which way they mentioned, in this post here below, I would assume. And they're essentially asking to be distributed funds for contributing to Arbitrum early on. And this is, I think, is voting on right now, literally. Voting period started, yeah. So this literally started today. And then we have the last one, which is extend tally support for the Arbitrum DAO. This one's a pretty cool one, actually. It adds a couple of different functionalities, I think, to the Arbitrum tally page in general, which includes, I think, putting up proposals, pretty much like a framework to put up proposals, like through kind of like a flow, like literally like a UX to essentially create your own proposal, and like kind of like templated on-chain actions that you can use instead of having to figure out what to actually put on-chain for your proposal, and like audit it and I'll do all that other stuff. For example, if you're asking for X amount of money from the DAO, instead of having to code that, like pretty much write the code and put it into the proposal, if you're not a developer, they'll have some of that stuff, I think, templated out, including like a UX to actually create the proposal and everything else. They're essentially contributing to the Arbitrum DAO a lot easier through Tally's interface. And yes, this is being voted on literally right now. So yeah, I think I just covered all that. Sorry if a little bit of that was rambled. Just trying to give very high level overviews here about what's going on. But I did want to end off today's video with a tweet here by the Arbitrum Foundation. Speaking of grants, they say that the grants program is moving to phase 3. What does this mean to grantees? The end of phase 2 means that the application form for phase 2 will close on April 3rd, 2024, and the start of phase 3 will open on April 15th, 2024. I'm not going to go too deep into this either, but it looks like I did want to mention like the main apps that will be they'll be focusing on here. It looks like they're focusing on dApps, which includes gaming, NFTs, social, DAO, DeFi, etc. And this sounds like, okay, well, obviously they're going to support them. I think each phase they've done different stuff. I think the first phase they were doing infrastructure projects. I feel like this second phase they were doing the same thing too. I could be wrong, but nonetheless, if your project falls within these lines, you haven't applied for a grant yet, and you want to, then make sure to take a look at this tweet. But that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. And yeah, I guess I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.